wife's grandfather was a Presbyterian pastor. Actually, both of her grandfathers were Presbyterian pastors, but her mom's dad was a missionary in China and then in India for a number of years before coming back to the States, where he pastored probably half a dozen churches or so before retirement. He was a joyful and kind and humble man whose love of Jesus just overflowed in everything that he did and said. Just before I finished seminary, I had the chance to ask him, "What's your advice for this young, inexperienced, soon-to-be pastor?" And I'll never forget what he told me. He looked me right in the eyes, and without hesitating at all, he said, "Preach Christ, and everything else will be okay." That is the best ministry advice I have ever received, and it's been a tremendous encouragement to me in my ministry. It is surprisingly easy to forget that fundamental number one task of ministry, of preaching Jesus Christ. I mean, ministry just has so many pieces to it, especially if you're pastoring a church. There's church administration, there's pastoral care, there's counseling, there's small groups, all these different pieces that you're trying to juggle all at once. It can be easy to overlook just preaching the simple good news of Jesus Christ. I'm kind of reluctant to admit how many times I've written a sermon, and after I'm done, I realize I didn't talk about Jesus anywhere in that sermon. I mean, it was about God and it was about Scripture and it applied to people's lives, but I didn't specifically talk about Jesus. I didn't invite people to Jesus. I didn't make Jesus compelling in the sermon. Now, thankfully, most of the time I've caught it before I actually preach it because I remember my wife's grandfather's advice to preach Christ as often as I possibly can. So I'm not offering this to you as a ministry tutorial, but as an encouragement. I hope that this advice will help you as much as it has helped me. That in your own ministry, when you feel pulled in 100 different directions, when you feel overwhelmed by the amount of work that you have to do, when you feel confused, you've stepped into a situation and you don't know what to do, you don't know what to say, preach Christ. Find a way to preach Christ in your sermons, in your counseling, in your conversations, in everything that you do in ministry and in life. Preach Jesus Christ, and everything else will be okay. It may not always be easy. That doesn't mean that you won't still have challenges or face adversity in ministry. It just means that if you are preaching Christ, then your ministry is Christ's ministry, and you are being faithful, and that will bear good fruit no matter what else happens. So may you preach Christ, and may the Lord bless you as you do. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.